Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. on a week-to-week basis, looking at 144 different nations, looking for the 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we go to a planet of some 9 billion people by 2050, how are we going to be able to take care of them so that they have an enhanced quality of life, not just to exist on planet Earth? So that needs to be the blend between the environment, the economy, and civil society development. And we have a gentleman who's been working at that all of his career. Fantastic name, I love this name. Sundaram Prabhu is the chairman and member, Board of Supervisors for the Azizi Bank in Afghanistan.
Hi.
And more of his titles. Expert consultant, international trainer, and audit advisor for the World Bank Group. That's a lot of responsibility. But anyway, we're glad to have you on Emerald Planet TV.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm very glad to be here.
We're glad that you're here. Tell us a little bit about your work with Azizi Bank. What is it, a little bit of its history, and then we're going to get into how you're leveraging that bank to really reach down into society to bring real rural economic and environmental development.
In Afghanistan, we have great challenges. One of the challenges is that, we have to bring the financial regulation. And the financial services sector, Azizi Bank is doing a wonderful job. And it's in 2006 when the government relaxed for having the private banks, this Azizi Bank was started as one among the 14 private banks. Mm-hmm. We started in a humble way. We gone through the systems. We understood the local issue situation. We thought that with 14 branches, we will go one by one, we'll go into that. We thought that we had to outreach everybody in Afghanistan. We started with 14 branches. Today we have got 82 branches.
That's incredible growth. It's
yes.
Marvelous.
And not only that, we have a subsidiary bank, Gupta Bank, which is going to be an Islamic bank. We want to tap the potential amongst the Islamic community. They are very, in their systems, they have their own way of investment approach.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So you have the Azizi Bank, which you started, and headquartered in Kabul, and now you're reaching out across the nation.
Yes.
What are some of the ways that you were able to take something that is very modern and introduce it and expand across a very traditional society?
You asked a great question. That's really good. See, we have, out of 82 branches, around 34 branches are in Kabul, and in 34 provinces we have to reach. There are only two approaches that technology can help us. Point of sale, we have to go to them. Branchless banking. You can't have banking in everywhere, the position in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. So we thought that we'll reach them out by point of sale. Even on a mobile phone, we start working on the banking system. And bank doesn't come to expect the members to come out to them. We reach them out. When we reach them out with their equipment on hand. Afghanistan, even though whatever you may talk, everybody is having a mobile phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to talk about that. This is something that's very interesting. There are many nations that had almost no infrastructure as far as telecommunications, the internet, and all that. But once it really became accepted around the globe, then they leapt time, leapfrogging as they call it. So tell us, how were you able to use the mobile phone to leapfrog into these very traditional societies in a way that they really eagerly accepted, not just resisted?
The terrain itself is more of a hill region. we can't have connectivity as on date by cable, but we reach them out by WiMAX through the wireless systems. And when we reach them out, the mobile phone, when they keep their hand, when we tell them that you can switch it on, you can start doing the work, and you can ask for money, you can ask for money transfer. That's easily possible. They can get it, and they feel at home. They feel, so our people go there, meet them personally, and explain to them what they need. Suppose he wants a loan for his farming, we help them. Advances, we help them. We give them technical advice also how to move forward. And if they want for any sector, we call them, discuss with them, debate with them, come to an arrangement that they can make the money better.
So what you're doing then, if I understand what you're saying, is that you have representatives of the bank. They're going into these various small towns, villages all over Afghanistan, and then they go in and are they meeting people in groups? Are they meeting them one-to-one? How do you reach out so that people feel very, as you said, this become, their bank? This is because it's their mobile phone.
That's right.
And so that's a very clever way because they're holding their bank in their hand.
Yeah.
So how did you start dispensing this information and then again to make people feel comfortable that we can trust this? It's not we're going to put something in here and it just disappears.
It's again a great question from you. Trust is the buzzword for this bank. Trust in people, trust in the bank. So what they really do, what we did it, we have branches in 33 provinces, and we call them to all the tribal members, elders, the community members. We call them to the bank branches, explain to them initially in groups. Once they really take interest, when they understand the technology and they develop confidence, we reinstate the confidence a little more by doing it in their villages. Then from there, we are planning for branching out to the individual members. It's a gradual process, and we could achieve that. And we are going to achieve it in a greater way. And in a country like Afghanistan, technology can do wonders, and banking sector can do business in a greater way and help them, the economy, to develop much better.
Yeah, I've traveled over much of Afghanistan. To me,
great.
it's really one of my favorite countries. And when I say that, people look at me like I have a fever or something. How can that be true? But it's a beautiful country, wonderful people, and it's a marvelous traditional culture. And it's just interesting that you're able to reach out to these people and establish trust in an area which, for generations has been resisting any kind of, coming in to the various villages. So going into the India 2020, I wanted to establish about the bank because it's very important because, as I say, the 5 things that really hinders any development: money, 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 and money.
Yeah, you're right.
And see, you've provided that platform. Now, looking at what is India 2020, and how is that being translated from India itself into Afghanistan and then other countries as well, but we'll use Afghanistan as the example.
The M factor is the greatest factor for any business and especially for any developmental area. The 2020 point program in India is concentrated on the basic rural upliftment. So they started with the process of 20-point program with one gradually. They want to alleviate poverty eradication. They want to empower people with more power by giving power to the Panchayat Raj. That made a great dent into the entire political setup there. And if you talk about the support, for them is also great. You must have heard about recently our Prime Minister talking about, everybody should have the, bank account and we should do the banking transaction. So he clubbed 2-3 things together. opened large number of accounts, even for a man who walks on the street, and giving him, without any premium, 2,200,000 rupees insurance without anything. So that gives a social security aspect.
But at the same time, and then I'm going to let you finish up on this, it brings pride to people that have been excluded from society, which now goes back into the Afghanistan, because many times they were excluded.
Yeah.
They were not connected with Kabul or in Afghanistan, or they're not connected with New Delhi or Mumbai or these, large metropolis. So now what you're doing is you're taking, again, the man on the street and saying you are part of society. So how does this India 2020 and the bank then marry this together so that, again, people feel comfortable, they're confident that you're looking after their best interest, and they then can contribute to their family, to the community, but also to the nation?
See, for one instance, is education for all. And in the education for all is one of the greatest, and health for all. What we did, we adopted colleges, we adopted many educational institutions, and we started funding for the IT teaching, information technology, ICT, and all modern technological subjects. That way, American University in Afghanistan is doing a wonderful work there. And wherever they need for education, we provide them assistance. Health for all, rural electrification.
So this is the essence of the bank itself then,
yes.
Help for all.
Yes, and communication, road. See, you want to have a small business. You come there and say, I want to start a business. Every farmer has got the dry fruit is so high, and the Herat and Kabul and other neighbor areas, the business is micro level business is very high, and we want to try to tap that. And micro level industries, there is going to be a greatest big colony in the Kabul, urban city, new urban city. That also provides them the shelter, which they were not getting it so far. This all taken from Indian, the 2020 program. And this is going to be a great thing.
Together.
Yes.
We only have about 20 seconds left.
Oh, good.
Sundaram, what do you see for the growth and development of Azizi Bank? And you have to be quick.
We are going to have a great time, and we are going to have dedicated support, and we are going to serve them in a best way to reconstruct and rehabilitate Afghanistan without any...
Chairman of Azizi Bank, thank you as we create the Emerald Planet.
There's more than just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library.
Excuse me.
There's more than just books at the library.
Il y a plus que de livres à la bibliothèque.
Hello. You have a lot of great books here today. There's more than just books at the library.
I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
I don't want to be hooked to a machine.
I want all the medical treatment available to me.
I wouldn't want my family to have to make this decision.
My doctor knows what's best for me.
An advance directive is your life on your terms. Talk with your family. Decide what's right for you. Then put it in writing.
Documenting my wishes today means my family won't have to make heart-wrenching decisions later.
To learn more, visit www.putitinwriting.org.
1,200 American youth run away from their homes every day. The National Runaway Switchboard is here to help. 1-800-RUNAWAY. If you are a runaway, thinking about running away from home, or a parent or guardian concerned about issues facing your child, call us 24 hours a day. 1-800-RUNAWAY. In times of crisis, hope is just a phone call away. 1-800
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Welcome to the Emerald Planet as we look around the globe for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, products, and of course the leaders that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And by the end of this century, they're saying we may have 12 to 13 billion people on the planet. And how we're going to be able to provide the food, the fuel, the fiber, all the basic infrastructure that's needed for all these new people that are here, but at the same time to catch up literally 1/2 of the globe's population, some 3.5 billion people that are not being adequately served at this time. And we have a gentleman who is working diligently on that very point. This is Gopal, which is his formal name, Paul K. Gupta, founder and president of i-Linc Technologies. And also he's going to be talking about the OASIS sustainable projects. He's coming in by Skype from Atlanta, Georgia. And sitting right beside me is the president and chairman and member of the board of supervisors of the Azizi Bank of Afghanistan. And I'm going to introduce you in just a few minutes. But Paul, welcome to Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you very much, sir.
Glad to have you with us. And this is just exciting what it is you're doing. So tell us a little bit about i-Linc Technologies. We're going to dwell on that just a little bit, and then we'll go to OASIS and some of the work that you're doing there, and what is OASIS, and then how the two mesh together.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, sir. I appreciate this opportunity. And thank you, Mr. Sundaram. I heard your talk. It was very inspiring, and I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
As far as i-Linc technology, sir, I'm a technologist. And in 2006, I had an opportunity to develop a smart remote monitoring and management solutions for agriculture industry. Just to give you a little background, I'm not an agronomist. I know very little about agriculture, but when I was working for a division of General Motors, I worked on a technology that could be applied to the agriculture, and that's exactly what I did. So in 2006, we developed this technology, patented, and then in 2009, we got a USDA grant, and we created a scalable, flexible, and globally deployable farm-link precision agriculture technology that we deployed in several parts of the United States, Chile, and a couple of installations in India as well.
Now, looking at the name i-Linc Technologies, tell us about the origin of the name and the meaning of it now that we know a little bit about it and how you're reaching around the globe, not just in a developed nation like the United States, but you're tying multiple nations together.
So the way it started, I had a business associate, and he was deploying broadband wireless internet in rural parts of Georgia, Alabama, basically in USA. So when I developed this solution, an idea came to my mind that, hey, let's call our product as FarmLink, L-I-N-C. And when we developed this product, after that said, hey, why not we create a company and have multiple products offering technologies to conserve resources. And so came about i-Linc Technologies we provide the missing link.
That's fantastic.
Our tagline. Thank you.
Yeah, when we started Emerald Planet, and then out of that came Emerald Planet TV, but we started with conservation and then energy independence, and it's just something it looks like through your technologies, you've really evolved into that where you're trying to conserve resources. But my understanding about i-Linc and then moving to OASIS is that you want to take those resources and then leverage those so you're enhancing society all the way down to the household level. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely. So when we expanded our horizon from i-Linc, we basically said, listen, we can deploy a smart farming community rather than precision farming. And precision farming is a component of smart farming community.
Oh, great.
Where and we have deployed few models or few systems of those where we integrate the broadband wireless internet, the security using the video cameras. Basically, we have a whole platter of technologies, including solar, wireless, tracking, security under the umbrella of i-Linc technologies.
Yeah, looking at OASIS, how do then you take your technologies and bring people together, and then what is OASIS as far as the sustainable projects that they're talking about? And these now are being dispersed across the globe. So tell us a little bit about OASIS, and then I'm going to bring Sundaram in a few minutes, and we're going to talk about the financing and how what his bank is doing helps to leverage what you're doing and also OASIS.
Definitely. So it was about a year ago that I met the founder of basically Mr. Iliad Terra. He's associated with a consortium called DVA-C, based in Washington, D.C. It's an international development, investment, and architectural engineering consortium. Consists of industry leaders and experts in various areas of technology, security, finance, international policy, and global relations.
Yeah, and I have to say that he's actually been on Emerald Planet TV as well. So we have a great network of collaborators here.
Exactly. He's a wonderful collaborator, and through him and Mr. Joel, I got associated with the OASIS project, which evolved basically by Iliad, Joel, and few members. So the role that i-Linc is playing in OASIS is we are leading the technology platform for OASIS.
Yeah, and looking at the slides that we just had up here, these images, you look at something that it's a study in contrast that we have here, Paul, and this is something that you provided for us. Tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here, and then I'm going to have Sundaram to come and talk a little bit about his bank and their work in this process.
Well, the top image you see, this is exactly why we are involved in OASIS project. Tell you the truth, in the last 50 years, we have seen rapid growth in population globally, and it has put constraints on our available meager resources such as water, energy, etc. And also it has caused migration from rural to urban communities and creating chaotic conditions, including wars in some parts of the world. So, under these circumstances, OASIS has come up with a visionary concept for next generation sustainable and integrated development, creating a dialogue between urban and rural communities and blending the latest advanced technologies with deep historic and natural context of the land.
Yeah, and we see these through these slides. This is a very dramatic juxtaposition between these two, the reality of, actually billions of people around the globe, and then what they can actually see in their future to help to bring them all together. I'm going to leave this slide up, but Sundaram, looking at OASIS and the work of Azizi Bank, tell us how this all starts to mesh together and the collaboration you have with someone like Paul.
Really, I must tell you, they are working in a fantastic way. They are reaching out people in a with greater technology. When you talked about the i-Linc technologies, we need these type of people there. We want technology to be brought down to Afghanistan. And we want private members. Their private participation should come there. take up the lead in establishing the network. And in fact, for that type of initiatives and ventures, the bank is always ready to help them. And in fact, we want to encourage them. And we will, not only for agriculture, he's talked about a very important issue, the migrating from the rural to the urban and the problem what you have. They've got great solutions. We want to utilize it. And it will be a great help for the Afghanistan nation as a whole. And our bank will be very glad to help the entire projects. That will be a great thing for us from the bank side.
Yeah, looking, Paul, at the OASIS, what's very impressive is the collaboration, just like with Azizi Bank and many others that we see here in this tableau. But tell us about the importance of collaboration as far as OASIS is concerned, and then tie in, if you will, a little bit about the India 2020, which is almost becoming a blueprint for development in the emerging market world.
Yes, sir. So OASIS has very good partners or sponsors that we are working with. Some of them are, the globally known, USAID, the World Bank, the IDB Bank, the Maryland Department of, and then and we are working with state nations like Kazakhstan, Haiti, Afghanistan. So linking this to India 2020, our vision is that the vision of Prime Minister Modi of India is to build at least 100 smart cities. What our vision is that to bring 100 smart communities. So the country, the government is doing top-down development in 100 smart communities. Our approach is to take bottom-up from rural communities and develop at least 100 such smart communities in India, Afghanistan, wherever we go.
We have about 15 seconds left, Paul. What do you see for the growth and development of OASIS and your i-Linc? We've got to be quick.
Yes, definitely. One of the key components in any development project is financing. And
money, and money.
Yes, so
factor.
so if we have the backing of Mr. Sundaram with us, we can do wonders.
That's absolutely fantastic. Well, both of you are absolutely doing fantastic work. And as we look around the globe, and thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Art, a universal language, an expression of culture, of self. And now, thanks to Empowered Women International, a way for emerging and established immigrant and refugee artists and artisans to find hope to earn a living while enriching the lives of all of us. Empowered Women International, making a better America every day. For more information on Empowered Women International's educational programs or to make a tax-free donation, contact cfrip at AOL.com.
Here, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty.
You'd think it would be easy to tell which kids have trouble with their eyesight. But that's not always the case. Even though 1 in 4 children may have a vision problem, eye doctors tell us the symptoms aren't always so obvious. We do know that 80% of all childhood learning is visual. And without good vision, kids can have trouble learning to read and may fall behind in school. For clues on how to spot the real-life signs of childhood vision problems, and what parents can do, visit checkyearly.com. A public service message from the Vision Council of America, and reading is fundamental.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you looking in 144 different nations, looking for, as we say, those 1,000 best of the best technologies, services, products, as we reach out to a planet that's going from 7+ billion to probably over 9 billion people. So as we add 2 billion new people, how are we going to be able to link all of them together so that people can trade, to be able to share information, and at the same time to be able to take care of their families, their communities, and their own countries? And so we have a gentleman who is actually working on all of this to link the world through broadband and a number of other advanced technologies. But also, Richard, I think you're using very simple technologies to reach into various communities, at the same time leapfrogging advanced technologies. But this is Richard H.L. Marshall, Esquire, CEO of Secure Exchange Technology Innovations, and also the CEO of X-SES Consultants. You're a busy guy.
Yes.
And he's going to be talking about AquaComs, and that's really going to be I would say, the focus of our topic we're going to have here, Richard. But tell us a little bit about your various organizations, and then let's lead that into AquaComs.
Well, Secure Exchange was an offset of OASIS, which you've talked about earlier.
And we're going to bring that back up.
And that's fine. And X-SES, I'm a retired senior executive service, so I thought I would throw that in because that helps in the Washington area.
Absolutely.
And outside Washington, X-SES stands for I deliver more than I promise, which is always good. But even though I'm a recovering attorney, I'm very fascinated by the linkage of technology, and so I love to put together technology offerings with emerging companies. Now, AquaComs is not an emerging company, but they are the leader in what they do. They have just completed, as of the end of December of this past year, the world's fastest, safest, strongest, most resilient undersea cable ever. Now, why is that important? Data on that cable goes at the speed of light. Where we normally talk about wireless, we talk about the speed of sound. So when you're looking for financial transactions, when you're looking for moving large volumes of data, it's necessary to go at the speed of light.
Now, looking at this whole thing, and this really goes to the heart as far as where the world is going. We're talking about a planet that has about 3.5 billion people that does not have adequate or maybe any water, no sanitation, very little health care, education, all these other kinds of services. But we look at this and people will say, well, we need to take care of those basic needs. But I think you're here to say, Richard, is we have to have all this very advanced infrastructure to link these people in very real and tangible ways.
Well,
now tell us about that linkage, and maybe use the example of OASIS that's reaching down into these communities, but also using, again, these very advanced technologies to bring all these people together for the betterment of all humankind, not just, the top 1%.
Well, you make a fascinating point. There are more people on the planet who have access to a mobile device than who have access to sanitation and water.
That's absolutely the truth.
And that, while it's not necessarily in-state desirable, it's very desirable from an information flow standpoint. When people have information, they're in a better position to make decisions about markets, better decisions about their life, better decisions about their health concerns. And the OASIS is an international consortium that tries to establish international common operating systems so that you can have this interoperability between systems. Otherwise, everybody would have their private way of communicating, and that would just create a blockage. So you want to have open connectivity, open communication. So when we're focusing on AquaComs, don't think of them only as an undersea cable operation. You know, we've got one that goes from New York to Ireland to Norway, where we ultimately will put in server farms and then double back into Iceland, et cetera. And the plan is to do one from Virginia to France. But the critical thing is, because of their advanced technologies and knowing how to work with fiber optic, you want to be able to use that in a terrestrial way. Think of the traditional systems. Even here in the United States, we use a twisted wire pair. So that goes at the speed of sound at best. But most of the newer organizations in the United States have fiber that comes in. There's no reason why we can't put fiber all over the world to give people the advanced information that they need and access to data to help them make better life decisions associated with how to grow their economy and protect their families.
Now, looking at this 3.5 billion I was talking about earlier that doesn't have access to sanitation, I mean, they don't have sanitation. About 1 billion do not have adequate water, and then you get down to food, education, healthcare, and all that. But yet, because the ubiquitous nature as far as the cell phones, the smartphones, the iPhones, all these different technologies, we are starting to link those people. Use like the Congo DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, where they had no landlines virtually at all when the Belgians left there.
Yes.
And now you have about a 20% growth rate per year, and people all of a sudden are connected, and they learn what's going on in the world. So looking at this image that we have right here, this is, you're talking about this under the water, yes, and the speed of this, how does this relate back down to these small rural villages in the Congo, in India, in Uganda, in El Salvador, in other words, and even the South Seas, all these places that have not been connected, all of a sudden you're saying, as Richard and AquaComs, we're going to put all you folks together and let's start working together.
Exactly. What you want is, I use the example of a superhighway, an internet, an interstate internet, and that's what the fiber cables do under the ocean. It enables you to provide information at a very high rate of speed, consistently, from point A to B. And then once you get into the smaller areas, then yes, you have to go to the wireless carriers. But if you are doing a Google search in the middle of the Congo, that first leap is slow, but it's more to your advantage if the main link going back to the United States or a server farm in Norway, for example, or Iceland, is extremely fast and efficient. And so you've got a combination of the speed of sound and the speed of light. And when you put them together, obviously it's much faster than speed of sound only.
Now, looking at this, the last mile, this is something that's been talked about for a long time, you know, even beginning at the computer revolution back in the 80s, and then as we progressed on through the 90s, the early 2000s, and now everything, in essence, is, you know, in your hand. Because this is really, it's a computer that has a phone attached to it instead of it's a phone that, you know, has a computer. So we're looking at it on the reverse side of that. So people that are in these developing countries where OASIS is reaching out to, how do they need to think about that phone, and how does that aid the other 3.5 billion people living in, you know, highly concentrated urban areas that have access to many more resources, but need the other 3.5 billion, not as consumers necessarily, but also as the producers and being plugged into this global economic and environmental system?
Well, I'm going to say something that's going to shock you. Number one, they're ahead technologically because they don't have to wrestle with the last mile problem and the legacy systems. I mean, I use as an example when I teach classes, Portugal, for example, just went away. We're not going to do the twisted wire pair. We're going to go immediately to wireless. In Brazil, you wait years to get a landline, but if you go to Sao Paulo, even if you're in Rio de Janeiro, you get a cellular service within 24 hours. Mm-hmm. That's how rapidly things are moving. So you don't have to worry about that last mile problem.
Yeah, looking at this, and then as far as the AquaComs is concerned, you're saying you're doing terrestrial as well as you know, underwater. How do we tie this together? And then what is that doing as far as bringing affordability to you know, in essence, the world, all 7 billion plus people that we have on the planet right now.
Let me give you a couple of concrete examples. Number one, we're looking at doing an undersea cable from Norway under the ice pack into Alaska to address the underserviced population who basically live in igloos, if I can use that term. You know, they've been ignored, but that is a tremendous opportunity to provide information with them, and I've been working with the White House on that particular issue as well. The landing, where you land the undersea cable is very important, because then you can go terrestrial to go to other places. The fact that we've got such excellent technology developed for undersea cable operations via AquaComs makes it much easier to translate that into terrestrial systems. Terrestrial systems, all of course, are going to be underground. They'll be adjacent to pipelines, for example, or adjacent to normal infrastructure, roads, example, will be buried underground and will be protected from people trying to interfering with them. And it's extremely fast, extremely reliable.
And getting to, and that you bring up something, Richard, I'm glad you brought it up, but this whole thing as far as security is concerned, cybersecurity, I mean, this is something that nation states wrestle with, retailers wrestle with, virtually all the banks. So how is this system evolving to where it's hopefully more secure, and that people feel like that their information, which is very precious to them, whether it's in this phone or a computer or, you know, whatever, is going to be protected? Because this is, you know, you have a crisis of confidence.
Yes.
And it's actually galloping, you know, away in the opposite direction of what it should be.
Yeah, I present this subject to a number of boards of directors to try to help them understand it a little better. They always think it belongs to the geeks, but no, it belongs with the leadership. So we just recently did a test with AquaComs. It's a 100 gig system, and we did an encryption test on it, and it worked perfectly. So if you've got end-to-end, point-to-point encryption that is not breakable, unless a nation state spends thousands of hours to try to do it, then you can be comfortable and rely on that information. And this is particularly important in a country like Afghanistan, where the banking system is so vulnerable to data being intercepted on cell phones. But when it's underground in terrestrial cables, you can be assured that it's secure because it's encrypted and is not easily disrupted.
15 seconds. Where's AquaComs going to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
AquaComs is going to be all over the world in the next 5 years. We're not waiting for 10 years. It's a very aggressive company. They're well financed. They know what they're doing. They deliver under budget, on time.
That's absolutely fantastic, and music to the ears and almost never seen, so it's great. Thank you for being with us. Richard Marshall, thank you for being here as we create the Emerald Planet.
Saving for retirement might be easy for some folk, but for others, it might take a little more work. And for those who haven't started, there are still things you can do to catch up.
Oh, that is good news.
Like getting out from underneath past debt. And don't get wrapped up with high-interest credit cards.
Get you some eyes.
Be diversified with your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Your financial goals are not out of reach. The choice is clear. For a happy ending, choose to save.
Everyone with alcohol and drug addiction is in the same boat. With treatment, you can find solid ground. For drug and alcohol information and treatment referral for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Dude, are you sure you want this tattoo? Because just do it.
Some mistakes in life are permanent. Like hearing loss. To learn how to protect your hearing, visit asha.org.
You've probably heard about heart disease, but did you know that it's the #1 killer of women nationwide? Heart disease claims more lives each year than breast cancer, lung cancer, or strokes combined. But there are steps you can take to protect yourself against it. For more information on how you can prevent heart disease, contact your local American Heart Association or visit their website at www.americanheart.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, products, and of course the leaders that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And we come to you on a week-to-week basis, so we're constantly looking around the globe in all these different nations to find what we call the best of the best. So it is the technologies, the services, products, but also we're looking for ideas that are propelling us through the 21st century. That almost becomes the fuel and the tank as far as moving us so that we're reaching down to the 7+ billion people we have right now and adequately preparing for the next 2 billion that are going to be joining us. And I have 3 gentlemen with me that are experts, have been working at this for a long time. You can actually see their logos behind us. This is Sundaram Prabhu, who is the chairman and member, Board of Supervisors, Azizi Bank, which is now world famous.
Thank you.
Of Afghanistan, an expert consultant, international trainer, audit advisor of the World Bank Group, and we're glad that you're here with us. And then coming by Skype is Gopal Paul K. Gupta, who is the founder and president of i-Linc Technologies, and he's also talking about OASIS sustainable projects, which we're going to bring into the conversation. And then we also have Richard H.L. Marshall, Esquire, CEO, who is Secure Exchange Technology Innovations, CEO of X-SES Consultants, and talking about AquaComs. And gentlemen, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Oh, thank you.
Glad to have you here. Since you're sitting beside me, the closest, I get to pick on you first, I guess.
Yeah, it's okay. Great.
Super. And but tell us, we've talked earlier about this importance of money being in this, and this is really the major impediment of dispensing the technologies that people need. They're inexpensive. Most of this is off the shelf. It's proven, and yet almost half of the world's population can't get access to it because of the lack of the money that's needed, because they can't just keep doing a barter system. They can't just exchange services. They have to have money. And so what I want to do is tie together everything that the 3 of you are doing about how do we deliver this to the most vulnerable. So talk about, in the conceptualization, we know about banking and how it works, but conceptually, you had a very different image of your bank than most people think of it as a bank. So how do you conceive of it, and how do you get it, the services, the money, to the people that really need it?
This is once again, you asked the right question, and it's an appropriate question. When Richard spoke about the fiber up technology, it's a great technique. They need funds. And in Afghanistan, we have the WiMAX system, more available. We need to have this technology. And we need more entrepreneurs. We need more members to come and participate. The local members are very energetic, very receptive.
These are the people in the local communities
yes,
that you're
serving. Yes, local community, receptive. They are very positive to our reactions. And the bank takes much more confidence in helping all those members, trying to fund them wherever possible, whichever project, whether it is agriculture, whether it is technology, whether it is urban development infrastructure, road construction, or any activity, any infrastructure development, any activity to reconstruct this country it's most welcome, and we are there to help all of them.
Paul, you're coming in by Skype, and I know you've been working with OASIS, and we've had actually several television shows about OASIS and the outstanding work that it's doing reaching into these rural communities. And as you and I have talked before, the world is rapidly urbanizing because of climate change, because of competition for resources, the lack of water, you know, and again, going back to the financing, the communications and all that. But you've really staked out through OASIS and also your i-Linc of really focusing into the rural areas. What are the rural areas bringing to the planet that needs to be enhanced and needs to be expanded so that we bring more resources and comfort and security to all the people on the planet, not just a few?
It's a question for me, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So as we stated that, you know, as a result of the rapid migration of population in the last 50 years, rural communities have been left behind. From infrastructure point of view, from technology, basically these are two different worlds, particularly when you go to countries like India and Afghanistan and other developing nations. And the technology can play a major role in bridging the link between the two. And I wouldn't say stopping, but slowing down the migration from rural to urban cities. And I'll give you a simple example. And as you stated, that majority of the technologies that can help the rural communities are proven and off the shelf. And they are very cost effective in today's world, really, if you think about the money. However, money is a key aspect, key factor. So having said that, just to give you a simple example, the Indian government has given importance to infrastructure, building highways, building bridges, roads. However, to build a traditional highway in any country takes years and takes a lot of time and money. With technology, in a rural community or any community, we can build a highway in the sky, okay? You can call broadband, you can call 4G, 3G, yes, but it's called highway in the sky. And once you have that connectivity in the remotest part of the nation, then you can connect that community with the urban, not just urban, but any part of the world, okay? So a person sitting in a very small, 5,000 population village in remote part of India can communicate, can do the business, can do the foreign exchange, currency exchange, trading, sitting in a little town in India. And that's the power of technology.
Richard, I think he's actually already singing your song, and I haven't even asked you the question yet. But looking at this connectedness and, coming out of a farming, ranching background myself, I really have a special endearment and affection for these kinds of communities. And so there's this huge pull into the urban areas because people feel like they can get access to resources, but also entertainment and things that make us feel like we're truly human and get education. But what Paul was talking about through OASIS is that if we go out here and we have these oases as the metaphor and allow people to stay in place and improve their lives there, then that can stop some of this pull and just allow people to stay where they are. So looking at AquaComs, how then do you expand beyond these densely urban areas, easier to reach, less costly, into these rural communities?
All right. That's a fascinating question, and I've got a fascinating answer for you.
I'm ready for you.
Number one, the major telcos throughout the world have always gone to the urban areas because that's where they can get the return on their investment. Putting in twisted wire pair is very, very expensive, copper. You can put in fiber optic for a fraction of the cost. It's embarrassingly inexpensive to do that once you install it. So what we're doing with terrestrial is going to the people.
Now, terrestrial means what?
Well, fiber optic underground.
Okay.
So it's on the ground, and it'll go to the people, the individuals.
That's that last mile that is
well,
talked about.
it's the rural community which didn't have a last mile because they were not included. So let me give another example. We talk about the cloud, and everybody thinks of the cloud as being in the sky, and they think that all of the data goes through satellite terminals. That's a false assumption. 98% of the U.S. internet traffic goes through a server farm in Ashburn, Virginia. The undersea cable that AquaCom has recently produced can handle all of the internet traffic simultaneously, movies, data, financial information, instantaneously from the United States to Europe, and can do it at a fraction of the cost of any other type of system. So when you've got a technology that is inexpensive, reliable, and can go in many diverse ways to help the rural communities, the underserved communities throughout the world. I mean, there's no reason why we don't have data farms in Afghanistan. Then that makes it so much easier for the people on cell phones, smartphones, to access Google, to use an example. I'm not advertising them necessarily, but we all live on that system. So it just seems to be a no-brainer to try to do that. And with cooperation with his bank and with the advanced technology that's offered by AquaCom, we're also looking at partnering with Corning Glass Works out of New York.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's amazing. Many of these legacy companies coming out of these legacy communities now are leapfrogging and becoming, you know, the next generation of whatever it is. Talking about Corning, which was actually near my hometown of Blacksburg, Virginia. Corning had a huge plant right there, and now they've actually started to activate.
Well, you know, there are three kinds of people in the world: those who watch what's happening, those who make a difference, and those who wonder what's happening. And I like to be a part of the group that is making things happen, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we all say amen to all that. We have less than a minute, so you get the last question, because these gentlemen gave us excellent answers to a short question, but it's great. What do you see, looking at OASIS, looking at AquaCom, looking at your bank, what do you see for the synergy, the collaboration, and we've got about 20 seconds to do all that.
Yeah, in four words I can put it across like this. We want to reinstate confidence into this type of companies and technologies. We want to trust them, and we want to build them, and we want to bridge the gaps and lead the way in the financial services in Afghanistan. We are going to do it. We are going to help them. We are going to help them in a great way.
Yes.
We want them there.
And you're actually going to go way beyond Afghanistan too, I'm sure. Glad to have you on.
Thank you, sir.
Richard.
Honor.
Paul, thank you for being with us, and thank you, dear viewer, for being with us as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.